Good evening and welcome along to the Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby and we are back for 2026 with all of the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League. I hope you had a fabulous Christmas and winter break, which has been extended for quite a few people because of the postponements from the past weekend. It was a good Christmas for me. I ended up feeling like I was 4 years old again, as I had my daughter on my knee during Christmas dinner as she wanted to look around, and mum had to cut my food up for me like I'm 4 years old again because I only had one hand, so I had to just stab everything with a fork. As I'm sure any new parents out there will know, it's part of the magic of Christmas. But let's get down to the Women's Football Chat for 2026, and a lot of news has happened over the Christmas period. Who said it was really a break? Lots to go through. We're going to start with some big news that affects Division 1 North, and that is that there has been an ineligible player played in the league, and as a result there has been a deduction as well. So first of all, the game that doesn't really matter. Dulwich Hamlet charged with failing to fulfil their cup game against Lewes. The game was awarded to Lewes and there was a £500 fine for Dulwich Hamlet. We knew that Lewes were progressed in the cup. But Huddersfield Town were charged with playing an ineligible player. Doesn't say when, other than the fact it was in November. The board was proven, 2 points were deducted and a £200 fine has been imposed. Now, that has big implications on the top of the Division 1 North table, because Huddersfield Town, with that 2-point deduction, have dropped to second. Now, this is the table after this weekend's results. When I say results, there was one. So the table pretty much looks the same, but Huddersfield Town were top. They are now second, 2 points behind Wythenshawe. Yes, they have a game in hand, but crucially, they are now level with Leeds United, and Leeds United have a game in hand on Huddersfield Town. Interesting about the top of the Division 1 North table, the top 5 teams now are all within 3 points of each other. It's a really close top half of Division 1 North, and it's going to be a great end to the season. So that's the key news in Division 1 North. Other news from Division 1 North revolves around Cheadle Town Stingers, who have confirmed that Dylan Wimbury has resigned from his position as first team manager. This came out a couple of days ago, and now the club would like to place on record its sincere thanks to Dylan for his outstanding service, commitment and professionalism during his time in charge. His leadership and dedication played a pivotal role in the club's recent success and progression. The crowning achievement came during the 23-24 season, when Cheadle Town Stingers were crowned champions of the North West Women's Regional League Premier Division, securing a historic promotion to the FA Women's National League Division 1 North for the 24-25 campaign. This achievement represents a remarkable rise through the football pyramid in a relatively short period of time and stands as a landmark moment in the club's history. Dylan leaves with the club's utmost respect and gratitude and will always be welcome at Cheadle Town. We wish him every success in his future endeavours, and they are now advertising for a new manager. Now, this one is clearly a Dylan Wimbury has decided to step down from his position rather than Cheadle Town Stingers deciding that a change needs to be made, because let's be honest, if you were Cheadle Town Stingers, they got so close to promotion last season. At the halfway point, they're 2 points off the top of the table this season. Dylan is someone who's done so much for the club, and it's clear in the wording of the statement as well that, you know, this isn't a we need a change to be made and we've removed Dylan from his role. Dylan has decided to step down. So we wish him all the best for the future. We've spoken to him on the Women's Football Chat before, and I'm sure he'll go on to do great things in whatever he chooses to do. Elsewhere then, we have a new manager in Wales. It's a familiar face for Gwalia United. Corey Williams-Mills will take charge as first team manager. Williams-Mills is one of the most respected figures in Welsh football, a Welsh international who has represented Wales across multiple positions at senior level. Corey came through the same generation of players as the likes of Sophie Ingle and Jess Fishlock and has been amongst the league's leading goal scorers over the past 2 seasons. Alongside her managerial role, she will continue to contribute as a player. So player manager for Corey Williams-Mills. She has said she's looking forward to the opportunity. She's keen to contribute to Gwalia both as a player and as a coach and to start putting some ideas into practice with the group. Gwalia United can also confirm Steve McCarthy-Campbell has left the club due to work commitments requiring significant travel and relocation. The club thanks Steve for his contribution during his time with us and wishes him well in his future endeavours. So big change as well at Gwalia. Said lots of news that we need to go through over the course of this show. That's kind of just the news as it was. Let's go to the bad news and the stuff that has not gone well over the course of the last couple of weeks. We're going to start with FA Cup news, and this is between the match between AFC Bournemouth and Manchester City. Now, the date and location has been confirmed for the Cup clash, which is next week, which will take place at the Snows Stadium, the home of AFC Tottenham. Now, Bournemouth have said the option of Vitality Stadium was explored, but a decision has been taken in order to protect and maintain the pitch during a challenging time of year. Ringwood Town is unable to meet the required criteria set out by the FA for a 4th round tie, and so the Snows Stadium was identified as a suitable option, and it's also hosted the club's development squad this season. This, let's say, has not gone down well with fans, and I can completely understand why. First of all, the pitch does not really, I mean, this is my opinion here, the pitch does not really need protecting. It has 19 Premier League games on it a year. It had 1 League Cup game Bournemouth lost. The FA Cup, they're away. So you're talking like 20 games, and Bournemouth aren't on it for ages yet. It's something like they're playing on it, I think, this weekend, and then they're away next weekend, and then it's like a midweek after that. It's got like 10 days afterwards to recover from 1 game of football. They would have got thousands of fans in at the Vitality. The number of comments underneath the information. Poor decision. The Emirates is hosting every home WSL game on that pitch. You can't use the Vitality for this 1 game. The club should be embarrassed. Really poor decision not to host at the Vitality. What message does that send to the girls of Bournemouth? Not even being held in the same county as Bournemouth. And just disgraceful decision. Funny that your league rivals Plymouth have no issue with the women's team playing at home park. Yeah, there are plenty of examples. Let's take Forest, for example. I know they're in Super League 2 side, but they play all their home games at the men's pitch and the men's Premier League ground and European football. Far more games than down at Bournemouth, and yet they can't seem to host it at the Vitality because they want to protect the pitch. It's an awful decision, absolutely awful decision. But then as well, and this is not a counter argument, this is me thinking about the future, Bournemouth are in a very strong position in the Southern Premier Division. In fact, they are top of the league with a game in hand in the Southern Premier Division. If they know Ringwood is not eligible for a 4th tier tie, it's not going to be eligible for WSL2. So are they looking to move to Tottenham? Are they going to then try to get to the Vitality, which is going to make things even worse with this fixture not taking place? What is going to happen at Bournemouth? And it's another example, sadly, of women's football, particularly at this level, 3rd and 4th tiers, making the news for all of the wrong reasons again. Now, it's been on the radio, it's been on the Times, it's been everywhere for this is wrong, rather than, oh, look at this incredible thing that's happening. And it's just another example of that. And it's really, really frustrating. Really frustrating. Speaking of frustration, Liverpool Feds have had their club Instagram deleted again, which I believe is about the 5th time that they've had it suspended, deleted, whatever you want to, with various ways of having it taken down anyway. And with seemingly absolutely no reason at all, it seems. So they've written an open letter to the Meta and Instagram support team that basically says how important it is because it helps them get people through the door and through the turnstiles and gets the attendance there, which brings the money into the club, which allows the club to still function. And they've had no knowledge of what rule they've broken, no warning, no opportunity to correct what was wrong or appeal. And they're not the only club to have had this problem. I saw Loughborough Lightning said they've had the same thing. So, open letter to Meta and Instagram. Have invited, if they want to come on at any point, Liverpool Feds to come onto the show and just talk about the real problems that they've had. So hopefully they'll take that up, and and we'll see kind of what happens based on that. And hopefully they get their Instagram account back, because it is so important to these clubs. Right. I think that's pretty much covered all of the news from the FAWNL over the last 3 weeks. It's everything I've got down on my list, apart from the Football Manager database. Went live on Christmas Eve. It's had quite a good number of subscribers already. Tier 7 and above is live and working with a full FA Cup, regional cups, Tier 5 and 6 in their correct formats, the FAWNL Cup and Plate, all the promotions and relegations, a lot of work, kits correct as far as I can see them, and it is really, really good fun to see what the league reckons that the game reckons is going to happen with these leagues, and you can sim so far in the future and see if anyone from Tier 7 ends up in the WSL. But that is the key thing. If you now support a Tier 7 side, you can now take them from Tier 7 all the way through and up to the WSL if you want. So if you go on Steam and literally on the workshop search for women's, you'll see it's there. It's English Women's Pyramid down to Tier 7. There's also on WFC a link to the file which you can download, and then you just put it into on your computer. You go on to your Documents, Sports Interactive, Football Manager 26, then Editor Data, and put it into there. And then when you go onto the game, you can choose the database you want. And so that's Tier 7 and up working at the minute. Cheshire Tier 8 is in, because Cheshire only has a Tier 8. So now all that's been sorted with the Cheshire County Cup and everything to go with that. And slowly but surely, Tiers 8 to 12 will go through as well. So finally, we have got to the results and the fixtures from the past 7 days. Of course, we went through all of the news. You will have seen over Christmas as well, I posted all my usual halftime stats. I know some teams actually really use those up in the dressing room to go, this is where we're really good, this is where we need to work on, because sometimes the results go and look at it and you go, well, we think we're doing X, Y, Z wrong, and then you look at the stats and go, well, actually in X, Y, Z, we might not be scoring many goals, but we're scoring enough to get wins and we're up the table and we're actually doing all right in that aspect. But look, we rank 10th in the league in goals conceded at home, and maybe we need to look at what we're doing at home, that sort of thing. So plenty to look at on there. It's all on the WFC account. I think they're all up now. I have been having issues a bit like Liverpool Feds, because Elon Musk has decided that this account is a spam account because there are so many teams in the league that I need to tag in. I am spamming everybody, and therefore he's limiting the reach that I can display to everybody, which is very, very frustrating. But the weather got a big amount of the games called off over the course of the weekend. So let's go through what did actually beat the weather. It was meant to be 36. It ended up being 15, and look ahead to this week, which is another quiet programme, but we've got cup action on the horizon. So there were No games in the Northern Premier Division. Every single game in the North was postponed, and there is actually, as you would expect in a country which is kind of long and thin like this, a pretty big correlation between games in the North and postponements compared to games in the South. But we'll start on Saturday. Plymouth Argyle 1, Watford 3. Unaloo with the only goal for Plymouth. They actually took the lead in that game in the 28th minute, and they held it until the 77th minute. Watford really turning this game around at the end in front of nearly 1,500 people. Madison Perry in the 77th minute equalised, and then Isabella Fisher in the 88th and Madison Perry again in the 91st made it seem arguably more of a comfortable game for Watford than it actually was. But they were two big teams really going at it at the top of the table, and then they were hoping for a bit of a slip up from AFC Bournemouth, which they got, a 1-1 draw with #United. Now, #United took the lead in this game on the hour mark through Emma Samways, and Bournemouth needed a 100th minute equaliser in order to get a point from this game. So Bournemouth really not at their best, it doesn't seem, in this game. They got a 1-1 draw with #United, which has somewhat closed up the top of the Southern Premier Division table. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Wimbledon against Oxford off. Cheltenham Town against Real Bedford. Bedford winning by 5-1. Relatively comfortable this for the Pirates. Izzy Bryant in the 12th minute, backing up Layla O'Brien in the 7th minute, so 2-0 before the quarter of an hour mark. Then Scarlett Williams in the 45 plus 3, so 3-0 at half time. Game probably done, but Cassie Evans in the 51st minute got one back for Cheltenham Town, made it 3-1. Maybe they can find a way back into this. But then Williams got her second in the 68th minute, and Chloe Logie in the 81st minute meant that Real Bedford really did put the game to bed in the end. Gwalia United 2, Billericay Town 1. Very, very late turnaround here for Gwalia United. Billericay Town, of course, yet to get a point this season. 54th minute, take the lead through Yasmin Cowley. In the 89th minute, they're still 1-0 up and thinking, hey, we could be on for our first points of the season here. Bethan McGowan equalises for Gwalia United in the 90th minute. Still a point for Billericay Town, but then the 92nd minute, Georgia Walters, coming off the bench at half-time, gets Gwalia in front. They turn it around with 2 goals essentially in stoppage time, and they win by 2-1. Lewis against Exeter City was postponed. What it means for the table then, really significant towards the bottom. Gwalia United off the bottom of the table. Billericay Town are now 13 points away from safety. That's 5 games essentially. So they are only possibly 4 games away from being relegated out of the Southern Premier Division, which would be in the middle of February. A very early relegation possible there for Billericay Town. Towards the top, AFC Bournemouth, they could only get a draw. They stay top, but only by 1 point. They do still have a game in hand. Watford up to second, 1 point behind him. Plymouth Argyle dropped down to third after Watford got that win over Plymouth on Saturday. Division 1 Midlands, 3 games to go through because the rest of them were postponed. Barnsley Women's losing to Boldmere St Michael's by 5-1. 5 different scorers for Boldmere as well. Chidabema Rinze, Laura Cooper, Grace Gregory, Ridi Ruparella and Janelle Straka with the goals for Boldmere. A consolation goal for Helen Linsky in the 93rd minute. Will probably annoy Carl Henry that they weren't able to keep a clean sheet. But a big win for Boldmere. And a thriller of a game between Notts County and Stourbridge. 5-3 Stourbridge get the win in this game. And that was a really valuable 3 points for them. Sutton Coldfield Town against Worcester City, a 1-1 draw. Chloe Dan in the 32nd minute for Sutton Coldfield Town, cancelled out by Kay Haggett in the 63rd minute for Worcester, mean that they share the points. What that means is that even though they didn't play, Sheffield are up a place because Barnsley women's heavy defeat means they drop below them on goal difference. But Stourbridge, big win for them, jumps them up 2 places, pushes Northampton Town into the relegation zone and Kidderminster Harriers down to 10th. So really significant win for Stourbridge. Yes, Northampton Town have got 2 games in hand. Yes, Kidderminster Harriers have got a game in hand. But if you're Stourbridge, you will absolutely take that just past the halfway point of the season. Division 1 North, everything postponed apart from Stockport County beating Chorley by 2-0. Jess Battle and Shauna Jean with the goals for Stockport. That means there's no movement in the Division 1 North table. Stockport County, though, moved themselves to within 3 points of the top of the table and into that group that are really close at the top of Division 1 North. Chorley, little bit kind of in no man's land now. They're 5 points behind 5th. They're not really in any danger of going down, but I'm just so curious to see how significant that points deduction could be. We saw last year in the Southern Premier Division, it decided relegation. Now, ultimately, it didn't because there was a reprieve, but it decided relegation in the Southern Premier Division. Is it going to decide promotion in Division 1 North come the end of the season? That's going to be fascinating to look at. Division 1 South East, 3 games here. AFC Sudbury against London Bees 0-0. Fulham 5, Actonians 0. Jade Bradley with 2, Stella Morgan with 1, Ellie Olds with 1 and Naomi Bradley with 1. Convincing win for Fulham. And Milton Keynes Dons against Chatham Town. Milton Keynes winning by 3-1. Madeline Pollard, Amanda Chimbima with the goals for Milton Keynes Dons. I believe there might have been an own goal in there as well. Only 2 have been recorded. And Amelia Woodgate with the goal for Chatham Town. MK Dons have now lifted themselves into 8th in the Division 1 South East table, and they're on somewhat a decent run of form. They've got 8 points out of the last possible 12. And you consider that without that run of form, they'd be on 4 points and in some real trouble. But Milton Keynes Dons then 6 points now clear of the relegation zone. Yes, they've played far more games than everybody else, but points on the board, particularly when you're down towards the bottom, are so valuable. That point for AFC Sudbury could prove to be really valuable for them as well, particularly with that game in hand they've got over Dulwich Hamlet. At the top, Fulham 4 points clear of Norwich City now, but Norwich City have a game in hand. And Division 1 South West, there was actually 4 games taking place this weekend. Keynsham Town against Maidenhead United. Maidenhead United getting the 3-1 win there thanks to a brace from Simone O'Brien and 1 from Isabella Stockton. And Harrod Beman getting 1 for Keynsham Town. But really, the damage was done early on for Maidenhead United. They had those 3 goals by the hour mark and the game was done. Bournemouth Sports, big win for them, 2-1 over Worthing. 66th minute for Isabel Weatherly, 78th minute for Freya Rolfe. Layla Malcolm in the 84th minute getting 1 back for Worthing, but they weren't able to find an equaliser. Moneyfields getting their damage done in the first half against Ascot United, winning by 2-0. Rebecca Tonks in the 6th minute, Shannon Albury in the 34th, and a 5-goal thriller at Portishead Town as Marine Academy Plymouth win by 3-2. They were behind. Adele Brown in the 15th minute had put Marine Academy Plymouth behind, but then 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes for Marine. 57th, 61st and 67th minute. 2 for Ellie Bishop, 1 for Charlotte Pettinger means that they take the win. Shannon Holloway then got 1 back for Portishead Town to make it 3-2. But it's Marine Academy Plymouth who get the 3 points. And that means for the table, Moneyfields 4 points clear at the top, but Swindon Town have 3 games in hand. Towards the bottom, Portishead Town on 7 points in 11th, Worthing on 7 points in 12th. Bournemouth Sports, their win has moved them even further away, as has Marine Academy Plymouth's. They're on 16 and 14 now, which is 9 and 7 points clear respectively. Is that going to be enough for them? You suspect it might be to stay in the division yet again, and it's Ascot United who are on the cusp. Right, let's then have a look at the fixtures coming up over the next 7 days. Not a huge amount of them. This was always going to be an additional week, plus it's the quarterfinals of the Cup and the Plate. So, Northern Premier Division, 2 games to discuss. Sporting Council against Hull City, bottom of the table against 7th. Loughborough Lightning against Derby County was a game that was meant to be played last weekend, and now because it's been postponed, they've pushed it forward to this weekend, although the weather is not looking much better for this time around. So it's all teams in the bottom half of the table. Top half will remain the same. Hull could go up to 5th. With a win. Sporting Cowser could go off the bottom. Loughborough Lightning could beat Derby County and put Derby into the relegation zone. Southern Premier Division, there's one game, and again it was one that was meant to be last week, and they're going to try again this week. AFC Wimbledon against Oxford United, 11th against 7th. Oxford could go 5th with a win. AFC Wimbledon with a win would put Gwalia United back into the relegation zone. Midlands, 4 fixtures to discuss. Kidderminster Harriers against Sutton Coldfield Town, 10th against 8th. Lincoln United against Leaford Athletic, 12th against 5th. Northampton Town in 11th against Worcester City, who are 6th. And Stourbridge, who are 9th, against Peterborough United, who are 2nd. So no game for Boldmere St Michael's in 1st, no game for Sheffield in 3rd, no game for Barnsley Women in 4th. So could be a little bit of a move around at the top. Boldmere are guaranteed to be 1st, but Peterborough, with 3 games in hand and a 5-point gap to make up, will be wanting to take advantage of that when they travel to Stourbridge, because if they can get that down to 2 points with 2 games in hand and a better goal difference, that gives them just that little bit of a buffer to be able to get a draw in there as well and still get themselves to the top. In Division 1 North, Doncaster Rovers Bells against Huddersfield Town. That was a game that was postponed way back in November. Leeds United against York City, 3rd against 10th. Norton Stockton Ancients against Wythenshawe is 7th against 1st. And then on Thursday, Chorley in 6th take on Leeds United in 3rd. So Leeds United 2 games this week. One of those is the game in hand. They could end up at the top of the table by the end of it. Division 1 South East, 4 games. Actonians against Norwich City, 6th against 2nd. Cambridge United against Chatham Town is 7th against 4th. London Bees against Chesham United is 3rd against 12th. And Luton Town against AFC Sudbury, 9th against 11th. So again, we could see a little bit of movement towards the bottom. No game for Fulham, so this is Norwich's game in hand. They'll want to pull themselves back to within a point again. London Bees have a very, very outside chance, but they'll want to keep themselves no further away than they currently are from those top 2. Finally, South West, there's just 2 games. Bridgewater United against Worthing is 5th against 12th. Marine Academy Plymouth against Ascot United, 8th against 10th. So some big games towards the bottom. You feel if Marine Academy Plymouth were to win that game and get themselves 10 points clear of the relegation zone, that would be more than enough for them to survive for another season. Those are the league fixtures. Let's quickly have a look at the Cup and Plate quarter-final draw. We'll start with the Plate. Cheadle Town Stingers against Durham Cestern, all Division 1 North tie. Halifax of the Northern Premier Division against Chorley of Division 1 North as well. Then the 2 games in the South. Moneyfields against London City Lionesses Academy. Gwalia United against Brighton Hove Albion's Academy. Of course, we are all supporting Moneyfields and Gwalia United. In the Cup, Wolverhampton Wanderers against West Bromwich Albion, the Black Country Derby yet again. Burnley against Middlesbrough, so some all Northern Premier Division ties there. Lewis against Plymouth Argyle and Swindon Town against AFC Bournemouth. So Swindon Town, the only Tier 4 side left in the FAWNL Cup. They take on Bournemouth, who are flying at the top of the Southern Premier Division. So some really interesting games. Let's hope they all get on. That's going to be the key. And then in the semi-finals, we go national. So you might be able to play someone that's outside of your league. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, if you are going to a game this weekend, do check before you travel that a game is definitely on. I keep across everything as much as I can on Sunday mornings, so do keep an eye on @WFootballChat on X. If a game is off, I will be talking about it. So if you want to check your game, if you can't look at the clubs for whatever reason, then do check WFC. And I will do my best to keep across absolutely everything. I'll be back next week with hopefully a little bit more to talk about, and hopefully all these games don't end up being called off. It will be a Friday show next week again, because of that game on Thursday night between Chorley and Leeds. In the meantime, at W Football Chat on X is the place to go for all of the very latest. And if you do want an opportunity to take a Tier 7 team to the WSL, then you can find the link there for the Football Manager database as well. Thank you very much for watching, and bye.